Well, good afternoon and welcome to H360 Live. My name is Dave Duplay and I'm joined here in the studio with my colleague from Healthy h360, Courtland Long. Hi, Courtland. How are you?
Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well. And I'm also joined here in the studio by Elizabeth Duplay. Yes, you've got the name right, Duplay. She is my daughter. And we have a great show for you today. So, Courtland, what about that rainstorm last night? Did you happen to hear that?
Oh, yeah. It woke me up. It was awful.
It was awful, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was not awakened by the rainstorm. I slept right through it. Elizabeth, how about you?
I slept through it.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it. What time did this occur?
I have no idea. Maybe like 3.
Oh, so it was late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Raining like cats and dogs?
Or like frogs?
Or like frogs. Some people say like frogs. Yep. Well, we've got a very exciting show for you today. We are shining a spotlight on cyberbullying and childhood depression. This is a very informative show. I'm happy to have my daughter here. She knows a lot about the internet and social media, and she's going to talk to us about cyberbullying and some of the effects it has on children and some of the things that we can do to prevent it. But as always, we have an interesting article for you this week. And as luck would have it, this article ties right into cyberbullying because there's a school district that's really taken cyberbullying, grabbing it by the horns. And this article that we read this week is called New Law Helps York County Schools Fight Cyberbullying. And you know, Courtland, the face of bullying has really changed. And Elizabeth, you've grown up around technology, but when I was a kid, there was no cyber. There were a lot of bullies, and it usually happened on the playground, and it was usually 1 or 2 tough guys, and that was bullying. But now with the internet and with social media and with smartphones, it's really taken to the next level. And so we want to shine a spotlight on this. Cyberbullying, oddly enough, and maybe you're not surprised by this, guys, but happens more than not after the school hours. And so the bullies were moved from the playground, but we're all connected. We've got smartphones, we've got the internet, we've got all kinds of social media happening, and cyberbullying's happening. There is a cyberbullying hotline that I want to make everybody aware of because this is a sensitive topic. And if it's going on and you know it's going on, you can call 1-800-420-1479. That's the cyberbullying hotline, and you can report cyberbullies. Courtland, this article that we read, what do you make of this?
Well, cyberbullying is really unfortunate. It's quite tragic, actually. Kids can be super mean to each other, but more serious actions are being taken to prevent it, which is great. But the kicker here is that oftentimes parents have no idea that their children are even being bullied. And Eric Eschbach, who's the superintendent of the Southeastern School District, says that it's difficult to be constantly policing, but so many times parents are completely unaware of what their children are even doing on the computer.
Yeah, that is true. Elizabeth, what do you think about that? I'm your father, and sometimes I don't know what you're doing on the internet. Are you behaving yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I know you are. But what's really interesting is there's this Act 26, and there's some laws being put in place that, people are going to get fined, and people potentially could go to jail. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a safe thing. I think the fines aren't stiff enough. This Act 26, for a first-time offense, you could have up to $2,500 in a fine and possible jail time, depending on the severity of the cyberbullying. Now, we've got some great tips that we want to share, and you got to pay attention because this is not only for children that are watching this broadcast, but this also goes to the parents. And Courtland, I know you've got some great tips, so let's jump right in. Let's talk about these. Elizabeth, I'm always interested to hear what you have to say on these tips, so you chime right in when appropriate.
Yeah, well, the first tip is to know the sites that your kids are on and what their online activities are. Ask who they're engaging with and what exactly they're doing online. And the second tip is to have a sense of what your kids are doing online and the devices that they use. So visit the sites and try out all the little gadgets that they're using. The third tip is to ask for their passwords. Make sure that your kids know that you're only planning to use the passwords in case of an emergency. Now, Elizabeth, have your parents asked you for your passwords?
They have. I didn't hand it over, but I do have a piece of paper in my room that has every username and password written down. So if I ever really was in a stiff situation, that's always there for them, and it's not like I'm going to say like, oh, here, have my password, but I'm not, denying you access to see like what I'm up to.
Okay, just refresh my memory. Where is that little piece of paper again? Where is that? What drawer is that in again?
The top drawer of the bedside
next to the
table.
stockings.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. That's great. Well, that's a good thing. We do have access to the password, although I don't know it. But there is, in case of an emergency, there's access to that. That's great.
Absolutely, and it shows that she trusts you guys to not violate her privacy.
Yeah, exactly. You can feel like you have a sense of privacy, and they're not snooping through everything, but it's a good safety blanket.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, the next tip is to ask to friend or follow your children on social media, or ask a trusted friend to do the same. Now, Dave, have you asked to follow your children on social media?
Well, I have not. I am on Facebook. I have a Facebook. It's very anemic. I really don't post a lot to it. I'm more active on Twitter, although the kinds of things that I tweet probably would not interest Elizabeth. The kinds of things she would tweet might interest me, but she is not letting me follow her. But I got a good sense of what's going on.
Well,
there's ways around that.
That's good.
Yeah.
This next tip I think is really important. It's encourage your kids. Be sure that they tell you immediately if they're experiencing some negative behavior on social media. Make sure that your children know that this is a two-way dialogue and that they feel comfortable letting you know if something is happening. And the final tip is look into getting some protection software. Find ways to monitor the sites and their activities without invading their privacy.
Yeah, now, Courtland, that's a great point, right? Protection software, but can you put software on, say, like an iMessage or text message? I don't think you can, right?
Well, you can also, I'm pretty sure there's a ways to block people's numbers, so that way if they try and call you or send you text messages, they just don't go through.
Yeah.
So you can completely cut off communication with certain people if you choose.
You wouldn't do that to me, would you?
No, never.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just checking. So, Courtland, great points. I think there's a couple of key takeaways here, right, guys? So, number one, it's all about teamwork. It's about the teamwork between the children and the parents. And you have to be proactive. You just sitting down once and right, you have to check in on a regular basis. And parents, pay attention, because you play a major role here. It's your responsibility to understand what your children are doing online, get passwords only for emergency purposes, or as Elizabeth does with us, have them all, the username and passwords all written down, hidden in a safe place, just in case we need them. So that's great. Again, there is a 800 hotline if you know about cyberbullying going on. We want to hear about it. You can chat to the right of our screen, but the 800 number is 800-420-1479. If you know about cyberbullying going on, please call that hotline. It's critically important. Well, guys, we've got a great video. We send our interns, I don't know if you know this, Elizabeth, we send our interns out on the streets of New York to get feedback, to see what our friendly New Yorkers know about cyberbullying and about this new law and the punishment around cyberbullying. So would you guys like to watch the video?
Absolutely.
Okay, Twiggy, let's roll that video, please.
Do you know anyone, whether a friend or family member, who's been a victim of cyberbullying?
Yes, I do.
Not really.
No, but I've witnessed it from people that I don't know and think it's terrible.
So do you think social media or technology has an effect on the amount of people who get cyberbullied online?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's the channel for which cyberbullying is actually used for.
Well, it's easy to do because usually most bullies are cowards, and you don't have to reveal who you are in order to belittle or hurt someone.
So if a parent finds their child as a victim of cyberbullying, what do you think one good thing they could do would be?
First thing, I guess, is to communicate as much as they can to know how their kid feel, and make sure to know their friends. And I guess communication is the best way to know your children.
Well, I think the first thing is you can't pay attention to things like that. If you don't want those kind of comments, don't read them. Limit what you do in social media, and realize that you are bigger and stronger and more beautiful than all of that.
If it's kind of like a school issue or like a classmate, then you definitely have to go to the principal first and foremost. See how the school handles it. Are they active about it? If they're proactive, if they don't do anything, is there a crime involved? Do you have to contact police? I don't have any personal experience with it. My niece was a victim of it. The way they handled it was they had to actually remove her out of the school and put her into a different school.
So today's cyberbullying is punishable by up to $2,500 or even jail time. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's kind of fair? Do you think that seems, too much?
It's totally fair. I guess it's not even enough to 2,500. It's something that is that can destroy kids and go to suicide or that kind of stuff. So it should be punished like really hard.
Yeah. I think there definitely needs to be some sort of punishment for it. I think there may be different varying degrees of it, and it should be based on the situation. Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think it could be worse if it's. I mean, it really depends on it's case by case, but I think it should be punishable by law.
I think that's an okay punishment for now, but it could be. What if it could lead to like other crimes? What if, God forbid, the child commits suicide? Is that a good punishment for somebody for that kind of result?
Wow, Courtland, what did you think about the video?
I mean, that was a great video. Of course, New Yorkers and our interns never disappoint. But, I thought it was really sad that unfortunately that one young man, his niece had to transfer schools because she was getting so cyberbullied.
Yeah, now do you think just transferring schools, that cyberbullying is going to end?
I really hope that it is, and I hope that she's not only changed her social media accounts and everything like that, but I hope that her new friends that she's getting at the new school will help support her.
Yeah, now Elizabeth, do you know anybody that's had to switch schools or take drastic measures like that after being cyberbullied?
Not personally, but you can look online, and there are a lot of times you can find stories about stuff like that does happen pretty often.
It's really sad, right? Well, once again, that 800 number, the hotline for cyberbullying, is 1-800-420-1479. If you know somebody who's being cyberbullied, please call that line and report that cyberbullying going on. Of course, our interns did a great job. Courtland, as you mentioned, our New Yorkers did not disappoint. What a great video. It seems like everybody was in tune, and there were mixed emotions about some of the fines. I think the majority thought they were a little light, and we should really stiffen those up. I think I fall into that camp. Well, we're going to move on because we have just a lot of things to cover in a short period of time. And we've been talking a little anecdotally about cyberbullying, but I want to really now talk about some hard statistics around this issue because it's significant. So we've got some slides here, but some of the statistics are that 25% of teenagers report that they've experienced repeated bullying via their cell phone or the internet. 25%. That to me is a huge, huge number. You think of all the kids that have cell phones. 52% of young people report cyberbullying. So those that aren't experiencing, at least more than half are reporting it, which is a great thing. An astonishing 95% of teens who witnessed bullying on social media report that others like them have been ignored. So that's a real problem. People ignoring the cyberbullying going on, that's got to stop. 1 out of every 6 parents of adolescents and teens are unaware of what their children are doing or even that cyberbullying is going on. And this is parents, this is where you got to step up to the plate here. But about half of young people have experienced some form of cyberbullying. Among them, between 10 and 20% experience it on a regular basis. Very sad. Embarrassing or damaging photos taken without the knowledge or consent of a subject has been reported in 11% of adolescents and teens. That's a big number. That's not right. These are some really staggering statistics, I think. And that's why we're shining the spotlight on it today for everybody. But we have a lot to talk about. Courtland, I know you've got some questions that are on your mind, so let's start. And Elizabeth, we're looking forward to a very engaging discussion.
Yes, Elizabeth, thank you again so much for coming in and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to hearing about your story. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and, give us an introduction and what you're passionate about?
Well, I'm 17 years old and I'm going to be entering my senior year of high school. I was a competitive cheerleader for a really long time. I traveled a lot doing that. And now I'm coaching a young local Pop Warner team for young girls who are cheering for an organization I used to be with, so that's really fun. After high school, I hope to attend Notre Dame and study forensic psychology, which is something I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about helping people, which is why I want to get into psychology. I want to become, I want to also study, clinical psychology so I can become a therapist and help people who are suffering in their lives, which I think it's very rewarding.
So Elizabeth, I know you're very involved with young children. You mentioned the Pop Warner. There's been some programs at your school that you've been involved in. Can you tell us a little about those?
Yeah, my high school that I go to, they run a preschool, and there's an option for the high schoolers to sign up, and you can go to a class, and you get to basically every single day work hands-on with these 4- and 5-year-old kids, and it's really great, and it's really satisfying to see the progress and the differences that you can make in those young children's lives, and that's something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, you've sent me a bunch of pictures of yourself working with the kids. They are very, very cute. I agree.
Well, talking about impacting children's lives kind of leads us into today's topic, which is cyberbullying. And I'm so sorry to hear that you have experienced cyberbullying at certain points of your life. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about that?
I think at one point or another, every teen nowadays, experiences something, and it can be really devastating being the target. When you're not in front of the gun, it's a totally different thing. To see someone say something about someone else is completely different than experiencing it yourself. And unfortunately, when I was the target, I was also experiencing a lot of other negative things in my life. I was suffering through depression, anxiety. I was, seeing a therapist, having a lot of trouble in school. So it can really be devastating, and it can make, wanting to go in front of peers every day really hard, knowing the things that they're saying, not even behind your back, but like literally to your face over social media.
Now, social media, it's a fascinating thing. The internet can be a great thing. Social media can be a great thing. I look at Healthy h360 helping all of these people. I didn't really grow up with the cyber, right? I mean, and social media, but now I'm engaged in it. You've pretty much grown up with it your entire life, so watching these new social media platforms come about, what do you think that impact technology has had on cyberbullying?
I think kids younger and younger are getting cell phones. I think I got my first cell phone when I was like 12 or 13 years old, and even that seems, looking back on it, pretty early. And there are a lot of, age restrictions on these social media websites. Like I think Twitter is minimum age of 14, and if you have an 8 or 9-year-old with a cell phone making a Twitter account, the maturity level just isn't there. So I think it can be dangerous to expose someone so young to a platform that older people are using, and it can change opinions. Like people can see things like with the younger kids, it's like monkey see, monkey do. If they see someone harassing someone at such a young age, they're going to think that that's okay to do.
You must have caught me in a weak moment if I got you a cell phone at that age.
Yeah.
I have to think back on that one.
It was one of those little flip phones that didn't even have the internet. I was just happy with anything.
Yeah, I remember that one, yeah.
Well, Elizabeth, you bring up some really good points about children younger and younger getting cell phones and being on Twitter and monkey see, monkey do. So how often would you say you witness cyberbullying on a regular basis?
It's hard to tell, because when you send a text or a tweet or you post a picture, you really can't get, exactly what the person is saying. Like I could send a text message to someone with a completely separate meaning, and someone could interpret it the wrong way. So you know, it's hard to tell if friends are joking around or if they're actually, you know, being mean to each other. So it's a lot of misinterpretation can lead to, you know, feeling like attacked when really it could be just a joke or something kind of like that, you know.
Yeah. And so, Elizabeth, where do you see a lot of this cyberbullying going on? Is it, there's so many different social platforms, I don't even know them all, but let's hit some of the majors,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, help me out.
Instagram.
Instagram, right? So are there some platforms that this occurs on more than others, do you think?
Definitely Twitter, because Twitter is a lot, you know, it's not heavily, you know, restricted. You can post pretty much any picture you want, you can say any words, and it doesn't get like flagged or reported or taken down for being inappropriate. So you can post a lot of really, you know, cruel things on there. And also there's, you know, unlike some other social medias, there's an option of retweeting or favoriting, which means you can, if I post something, someone else I know can share it with everyone who follows them. So it can really spiral out of control and snowball into something really big. If, you know, say a mean tweet gets like 50 retweets, that's not just 50 people seeing it, it's 50 people sharing it with everyone else who's looking at their stuff.
Wow.
What do you think are some of the results of cyberbullying? You know, like what can this lead to for someone who's experiencing it?
I think it can lead to a lot of isolation. You know, you're not going to want to go to school and see your friends anymore if, you know, you're feeling attacked by, you know, your peers and your classmates. You're going to start to feel alone and really upset, and you're going to start to believe the things that people are saying about you. If, you know, you post a picture that you think you look great in, but someone says like, oh, your nose looks big. You're going to start to pick everything apart about yourself. And that can be really harmful to, you know, your self-confidence.
Right.
Yeah, wow. Okay, let's role play here for a minute. I'm 15 years old.
Okay.
I go to a party, and there's some adult beverages at the party.
Okay.
And I reach my hand in the cooler and I pull out my Miller Lite, or Amstel Light maybe, or Corona if it's the summertime. And I'm indulging a little bit, and all of a sudden somebody posts a picture of me, and they tweet that picture out. And then of course, as Elizabeth, as you say, it goes out and then somebody gets it and retweets it, and now it's all over, and this thing spiraled out of control. My parents think I'm at the movies, they don't know what I'm doing or what have you. And I want this stopped. I'm the 15-year-old, and I see this unfolding, and I want it stopped. What can I do? How can I make this stop?
I think the first thing that's really important to do is screenshot exactly what's happening. That way, if it does get taken down, there's still proof and there's still evidence of the person who was like personally attacking you on social media. You can still say, like, if they say like, oh no, I never posted that, I never said that, you can say like, yes, you can. Here's a screenshot with an exact time, an exact date, with exactly what you said. Second, you can also, if you know the person, you know, ask them, say like, hey, I really don't appreciate, you know, you doing this without my knowledge. Can you please delete this photo? And I'm pretty sure Facebook even now has an option that you can send them a notification saying, I would like you to take this photo down.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
Well, to follow up with that, what are some of the other necessary steps that you think there are for reporting cyberbullying and harassment? Do some of these social media sites have things that you can report someone to or anything like that?
Yeah, on almost every social media that I know of, there's a flag, there's a report, there's blocking, there's something that you can do to cut off contact with specific accounts, specific users, and you can even report specific, you know, pictures, tweets, things that they've posted, to say like, this is like harmful, this is really like, this is something I don't want to be out there, this is something I feel that is like personally, you know, attacking me. So you can definitely, you can do that.
That's good. And in addition to that, screenshotting text as well, if this is over, you know, text message.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So we mentioned in the article, you know, and earlier in the show, that a lot of these cyberbullying incidences are ignored. And so if it's happening to you and you feel like you're being ignored, you know, what can we do? Who do we go to?
I think the first person you should go to would be someone you really trust. someone who you wouldn't think would, brush you off. If you have a really close friend or a close teacher or a guidance counselor or an adult, you should go to them and you should say like, hey, like this is happening. People aren't really thinking it's a big deal, but I'm really hurt by it. And hopefully, you get one person behind you, you can get a whole army behind you.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, Dave, your example that you mentioned earlier about being at the party, someone taking a photo, I think this is something that probably happens quite often, and kids might be afraid to talk to their parents about it because they don't want to get in trouble for having been at a party or drinking. But parents do play a really key role in this cyberbullying and protecting everyone. So when you were experiencing some of these negative things on social media or via text, did you talk to your parents about it?
Not right away. I felt embarrassed to say, like, I'm being made fun of, because, the typical thing that you think a parent would say is, oh, don't pay attention to it, it'll go away if you ignore them. But that's not how it feels in the moment.
Right.
So, you want, like, immediate, satisfaction. You want it to go away, like, right away. So I think parents need to understand that they can't just, like, give, oh, ignore it, they have to, back their kids up and really, take a stand and fight to, support them and help them out. And like you were saying, they need to have some sort of level of, respect and trust, if they were at a party drinking,
right,
and they say, oh, like someone's putting this picture out of me, this can be really harmful. They shouldn't be getting upset like, oh, why were you drinking? They need to worry about what's more important first. They can have that conversation later, but while this picture is going all over the internet, they need to, figure that out first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of parents aren't connected. They may be older, or they just aren't into social media. How can parents get more involved? How can they get connected at some level? Is that through their children or understanding of these social platforms?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you can start with just one kind of account, like maybe Facebook, and you can, learn that and figure that out, and then, get another one, and eventually you'll understand everything. Or you could just, ask your kids, like, hey, do you mind showing me, like, your Instagram account? I want to see what pictures you've been posting. I want to see what you've been up to. Oh, or like, oh, can you show me that picture of you and your friends when you were at the movies or whatever? You can ask them to help you out, and you can, like, learn through them. You can sit down and say, oh, I want to make a Facebook account so I can hook up with my friend Cindy from high school. And then they'll sit down with you and help you create an account, and then you can, learn how it works and what they're up to.
Yeah, very good.
For those parents who aren't quite so connected, what do they really need to understand about how easy it is to share and connect with each other?
They need to know that literally what you put out on the internet can be put out in seconds, and it will stay there forever. Like if you make a text post and someone screenshots it, it's out of your control. What you said is out there forever. And like if I wanted to, I could pull my phone out, take a picture right now, put it on Snapchat, and everyone who I'm friends with will see exactly where I am and what I'm doing. So I think it's really important that parents know, it's extremely easy to post anything. It's all instant.
So you're an advocate of more parents being connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With, keeping the whole distance, privacy. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm going to make an Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr to follow you on every single thing, and I'm only going to follow you and look at your stuff. It's,
Yeah.
you got to have some sort of like give and take.
I clearly understand the boundaries. I'm down with that, as they say.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes the effects of bullying can take a really hard toll on someone, leading to, depression and even thoughts of suicide. So what can someone do, or where can they go if they're feeling really lonely and isolated, like you mentioned earlier?
Friends are always a good start. Friends, if you have a true loyal friend, they'll be there for you no matter what. There's suicide hotlines that you can call like 24/7. I'm sure if you just Google it, it'll come up. Or just any person that you trust. I'm very, very close with my guidance counselor at my school and a few teachers. And when I was struggling, I would sometimes leave class and go see my guidance counselor, or I would spend lunch with a teacher that I really trust and I could really open up to, or even just talking with, friends, family.
That's awesome that you have that outlet at school.
So bystanders see this going on, friends see it going on. I know sometimes if you were to see one of your friends being attacked, sometimes it's hard to know what to say to that friend. How do you start that conversation?
Well, from personal experience, when it was happening to me, my friends actually sent a group text to my mom, and they were letting her know what's going on. And at the time, I was so mad at them. I thought that they were going behind my back and like ratting me out to my mom. I didn't want my mom to know that I was having trouble and that I was so upset. And you know, looking back on it, I'm really glad that they did that, because it saved me in the long run, because I could have, you know, kept spiraling out of control, falling into deeper depression, getting thoughts of suicide. I could have ended up in the hospital. So I'm really glad that I had such good friends and that they knew, you know, telling my mom was the best thing, because they had confronted me about it so many times and I just brushed it off. I was like, no, it's not a big deal, like I'll take care of it. And you know, I was really mad at them. And friends, you know, they shouldn't think, oh, maybe my friendship will be over with them if I tell them. They need to think about, you know, what's best for your friend, whether they're gonna be mad at you or not.
Yeah, absolutely. That 1-800 number again, that hotline, cyberbullying hotline, is 1-800-420-1479. If you know somebody that's being cyberbullied, or you yourself are being cyberbullied, please call that hotline and report it.
Elizabeth, it sounds like you have a really great group of friends, and they've thought very hard and long about that group text. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes people don't always think through the consequences of their actions. So what do you think that someone should consider first before they do something harmful or negative to another?
I think if there's any thought in your head that this shouldn't be posted, it shouldn't be posted. You know, if you think, you know, maybe, should I post this? I don't know. You shouldn't. If it's about another person, you know, text them and ask them, hey, do you mind if I post this picture of us at a party? And see if they say like, yeah, that's okay, or no, it's not. You know, you have to make sure that if other people besides yourself are involved, you need to let them know what you're going to be saying about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, Elizabeth, and you've done a great job.
Thanks.
Well, that's our show for this week. I want to thank Elizabeth for coming in. I want to thank our viewers for tuning in. And I would like to thank all of our sponsors for making this all possible. Remember, all of our episodes can be viewed on demand at healthyo360.com. And our podcast is now in the iTunes store, and it's free. We, Elizabeth, are on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. We use the hashtag #RealStories, and we hope you do the same when you post for us. So on behalf of myself, Courtland Long, and the entire Healthyo360 family, we wish you a very pleasant afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.